Y'all don't know that song. I've either really been wasting my time for the last, well, I've been listening to good music. But I'm telling you, I have sat here and researched this 817. I started bouncing things off of it, and I am telling you, we have found our date, good Lord willing. And if we found it, the good Lord just handed it to us on a silver platter. So, without further ado, let's get on with this. One of the biggest killers right off the bat. You go to Election Day, which is on 11/3, which is the same day that One World Trade Tower rose. It was the day it was established, 11/3. 6 years previous, 2014. We're going to get to that also. But I want you to know, when he was killed losing that election to 817, it is 138-3. And we might as well bring this up and keep it forever. Murder code. Murder in the widest gematria calculator that gives us the most ciphers. You see the 83 and the 38. Reverse ordinal and reverse full reduction. Ordinal and reduction have nothing to do with each other. And it's the reverse of both those separate entities. You get an 83 and a 38, the reverse of each other. And lo and behold, we know that Donald Trump in simple gematria, and boy, is gematria going to play a key role here. Donald Trump is 138. So it's saying when you get 1383, you've got Donald Trump fused with murder twice in the amount of days from the election in 2020 to 817. Now, if you run it to the rising day, it's 1386. And remember my Bible, I've got videos on that where I use my cell phone to show you my Bible at Zechariah 11:17. It's on page 1386. But let's just stick with this. That in itself right there is just fascinating. That's killer. It's kill or be killed, isn't it? Let's go to the next one. This last He Is Man Trophy Awards presentation in 2023 on 12/9 to When He Is Man. Who is man? Satan is man because he will be indwelt in his body on the rising day, which is 2 days later. It's a spiritual rising. He rises on the third day out of the abyss, out of the pit. But it's not a physical. I do believe the North Pole, which is the center of the circle of the earth, I do believe it will become unfrozen. And there's a spiritual negative awakening that's going to be taking place. But Santa Satan, Satan Santa, Disney's Frozen, or Mr. Freeze as the villain of the Antichrist, Batman, froze that abyss over in the center of the circle of the earth. So it's 254 days. Sorry, I digress there. He Is Man Trophy Award presentation is 254 days to 819, the full moon rising. 254 day of the year was 9/11. So it's basically 9/11 from He Is Man. And remember, He Is Man, or 9/11 was about the rising. It was really 7/11, September the 7th month. And most countries write it, of course, the other way. So it was really 11/7, Revelation 11/7, the beast rising from the pit. And what rose up on World Trade Tower? It's 254 days, He Is Man Trophy to 819. Day 254 was 9/11, 2001. Next. One World Trade Tower. We're going to have to open up an email on this. You're going to find this fact. First of all, do y'all remember the Q drops? What they called Q drops? It's because he drops on the 17th. Q is the 17th letter. They called them Q drops. What is a Q drop? Q drops on a transcript. This is the indication that something became too much for you to handle, and that you chose to drop the course rather than to see it. And that's what they called, jeez, the QAnon. What is a QAnon Q drop? Well, they called them Q drops. For some reason, I can't find it. Q drops. Let's put the S on the end of it. QAnon. Anyway, let me click it and see if I. Sites dedicated to aggregating the Q post, also called Q drops, or excuse me, also called drops or Q drops. Y'all, he drops on Q day. The 17th letter is Q. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Absolutely fascinating. August 17th in simple gematria is 226. Flight 226. This is in Skyfall when he looks at his phone right before he goes to get the right eye wound. And after he gets the right eye wound, he's standing in the boat and goes through the mouth of the dragon. And while he's standing in the boat, he has this trance on his face, exactly mimicking iPad Goat. That's James Bond holding his cell phone right before he gets his right eye wound. Flight 226. He takes flight on August 17th. That's what August 17th comes to in gematria, is 226, exactly what's on his cell phone. Are you kidding me? Yeah, Gimme Shelter has 79 murder code in the days 19979 to the murdering day. Because we're all going to need shelter when he goes down. All right, so One World Trade Tower. Do y'all remember the video I just did earlier today where I talked about how Trump is 28556 days old, 28554 days old on the event day and 28556 days on the rising day? Well, the location of One World Trade Tower is 285. So it's giving you literally the time frame that he dies and rises. Well, it's One World Trade Tower. The address is 285 Fulton Street. The amount of days until our rising, because it's One World Trade Tower, so it represents the rising, it's 3577 days, which is God times 5, 3 times 7, but it's also 357 is the amount of verses in the book of Daniel. But the reason I made the email, the reason it's a big deal It's exactly 11.7 months, 117 months, 11.7. So One World Trade Tower, which is all about Revelation 11.7, the rising of the twin trumps. It is that many months, 11.7, along with 3577 days. And it just happens to be at 285 Fulton Street is the address of One World Trade Tower. And Trump will be 28556 days old on his rising day. It's just fascinating. So Revelation is 404 days. Daniel is 357 days. When you add them up, it's 761. I decided to go back 761 days just to see what it would give me. From the rising day of 8/19's full moon, Ipet Godi comes rising up through a full moon. If you go backwards 761 days, it lands exactly on July 20th, which was the date of the Dark Knight Rises. Rising day. Go back 760. It's just people. Seriously. This is nuts. Let's get back to my prepped items. And there's the One World Trade Tower deal. 9 years, 9 months, 16 days, 117 months. 980% of a common year. 98th verse is White Horse verse, the rising day. We'll be living in the book of Revelation in real time on August 19th, 2024. Real time with Bill Maher, which is what that's about. It's 121 weeks. 121 is Antichrist. It's 188 and 400 hours. In the minutes, 11/3/04/000. So you have 11/3, which is, that's One World Trade Tower's date. You've got 188 that begins the hours, and it's 11/21, which is 1/121. 121 is Antichrist. Everything is coded in real time with Bill Maher's TV show to when we'll be living in the book of Revelation in real time. I still can't get over the Q drops. The Q drops. Mamma Mia, here we go again. Y'all remember Mamma Mia came out just like Barbenheimer. Mamma Mia, here we go again. Excuse me. When The Dark Knight came out, Mamma Mia came out. Same day, just like Barbenheimer. You had a girly flick with one of their big tell movies on the same day. So that's a big code. It was Mamma Mia, also released on 7/18 like The Dark Knight in 2008. The Dark Knight Rises came out 2 days later, or on the third day, on 7/20, 4 years later. But then 6 years after that, Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again. Yep, came out on the exact same day as The Dark Knight Rises, 7/20. You cannot make this stuff up. Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again is saying 9/11, here we go again. Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, released on 7/20/2018, is 2 days to the rising day. It's 2220 to the 86ing day. Can't make it up. Can't make it up, can't make it up, can't make it up. So the first thing I want to show you is Acts 7:38 refers to Israel when they received the lively oracles or the Ten Commandments on Mount Sinai. They're referred to as the church. I always use 7:38 as the church Bible verse or code for the church because it's a very important Bible verse because it tells you that Israel is the church and the church is Israel. If you're not of the bloodline, but you're a sheep, you're considered a grafted in Jew per Romans chapter 11. I do a deep Bible study on that at the bottom of my playlist. It's one of my first playlists at TS Daily Bible Studies, my Bible study channel. The reason I'm giving you the 7:38 is because it's coded on October 20th. I scored my touchdown. One touchdown. But see, that's a monumental marked day. On the following day, I lost my virginity. Two things you just dream about as soon as testosterone hits your body, scoring a touchdown for your future high school football team, and having sex. Mine happened on back-to-back days. So every time October 22nd rolled around, I was like, what's going to happen? That's the third day in that succession. Well, my son was born 5 years later. But if you run it on the third day of those two events, you do get 738. 738 for the church on the rising day when the book of Revelation is opened, which is all about redeeming the church. That's kind of trivial, and it's the same with scoring the touchdown. Like, hey, Trump's going to go down on 8/17. Hey, he did go down on 8/17. Touchdown. 16,738. I'll come back to this later. Well, I'll do it now. Y'all remember how I've told you a story about Earl, who died on May 8th, 1978, murdered by his mom. The following day, a tornado hit our school. And the mother of his child graduated with us. She was in our class. Earl was a year above us. He was the quarterback. She also died on May 8th, 2001. Yep, 2001. Sure enough, 2001. And if you run that to 8/17, 8502. Earl's number was 02. Her brother-in-law's number was 85. He also died very young in prison. Bad stuff, rough stuff, tough stuff. Tough stuff. When they went 88 miles per hour and Back to the Future, 14,175. 175, 17:5 of the book of Revelation, chapter 17, verse 5, is Mystery Babylon the Great. So they are coding going 88 miles per hour on his 86ing day. They're coding Mystery Babylon. 1417:5. 14 Mystery Babylon the Great. Look at the percentage of a common year, 3883. Murder, Trump, murder. A palindrome. I showed you my friend and I are that many days apart, and I showed you, that's previous video. That was fascinating. If you run it to the rising day, when they went 88 miles per hour, it's 14177. Well, it's 177 days between or from one solar eclipse to the other this year. It's also 38 years. I forgot to say that for either one. 38 is murder, of course. But 14177, that's X across America, eclipse, 2, Ring of Fire, eclipse October 2nd. And don't forget, it's 13-3 days. It's 1-3-3 days from the X across America to the opening of the book of Revelation. 13-3 code, 133. Revelation 13:3 is the first time deadly wound is mentioned. It also says did live. So it's the deadly wound and the rising all combined. And it nails it to the rising day. I showed y'all that earlier in a previous video, but I didn't really expound upon the Bible verse. It's 133 days. One of the heaviest codes you can possibly get is 13:3. And that's why March 13th was the day, Mr. Big, the future Antichrist, did what he did to our country. The actual date of 9/11 itself, 9/11, 2001, 2, his 86ing day on 8/17. Not only is 83 murder in the days, 8376, 76 is Adam in Strong's Concordance, New Testament. So it's murder, the Black Adam. That's what the movie Black Adam's about. It's about the Antichrist. But it's from 9/11 to 8/17. It's 22 years, 11 months, 6 days. 11/6 is upside down backwards 9/11. And what they coded, that 116, Lone Pine, Twin Pines Mall code, and Back to the Future. It's also 22 years, 11 months, 6 days, 22. The 22nd prime number is 79. 79 is murder in simple gematria, where A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. So there's a lot going on with that one. Top Gun Maverick to the day in between the 86ing day and the rising day. It's 2 years, 2 months, 22 days, but it's 8/14, which is a progression. What's not? Let me read what I put in the notes. Oh, it's 116 weeks, which is upside down backwards 9/11, Top Gun Maverick. And that's on any of the days, the 86ing day or the rising day. To the rising day, it's 116 weeks and 3 days. To the rising day, it also begins with 11/7 in the minutes. 2 years, 2 months, 23 days. Jeez. All right. There are some big, these are not necessarily in order of what will shock you. Wait till you get to like The Big Short. 8 years, 8 months, 8 days, 888 code. Christian Bale's movie, The Big Short, when the stock market collapses. We'll get to that in a minute, though. All right, just did that one. I don't know why I say 20-second progression. I don't know. One of those days it falls into a progression, I think. Top Gun Maverick does. You know, it's a direct hit on the X across America. We'll get to that. It says Top Gun Maverick. Oh, on the day in between. Okay. Yeah. In the middle day in between, it's 814 days, and you divide it by 37, and it's 22 progressions of 37. And the 22nd prime number is 79 murder. But it is 2 years, 2 months, 22 days, so on and so forth, 116 in the weeks, all that. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Now, again, my friend who turned 52 years old today, and she and I are 3883. There's that 3883 again. 3883 days apart. When you run her birthday of today, 2/22, 1972, to 817, you get 19, comma, 17, 0. You're getting both dates of August, the rising and the 86ing day. Well, look what her number is. 2 times 22 times 1973, 72, 86, 7, 68. Well, the 86 is the 17, and the 68 is a 19 when he rises, reversing the 86. He's risen from the dead. It's not really him that dies, but his twin does. His body double, his clone, and then he just becomes possessed. Satan takes over his body. And it's coded into her birthday, 19 and 17, to 817. And we know 2 days later, on 819, is the rising day. 86 and 88 is in her number. Out of anybody I know, her stuff is the absolute strongest. Absolute strongest. Absolute strongest. I've never seen anything like this. This is the second time I've inserted her in a video today. Second time. There's the church again. 738 days to the book of Revelation being opened. If you don't think that 738 is meaningful, this will prove it more powerful here. Acts 7:38, the church that was on Mount Sinai receiving the Ten Commandments. It's referred to as the church, not Israel or the Israelites. What is 738 days to the opening of the book of Revelation? The day Sirius the dog star rose, and on the same day was also 2 midpoints of 2 total lunars and 2 total solar eclipses. The ones nearest in both directions. Coding the church on the day we're living in the book of Revelation in real time. Doug Williams football game. That was in the movie Donnie Darko. 34 years, 8 months. 348 is the perfect fusion of murder, Donald Trump in full reduction. There's murder in full reduction, 34. There's Donald Trump in full reduction, 48. So you can fuse the two together with a 348. It's 34 years, 8 months. There's your 348. 34 years, 8 months, 28 days. From that Doug Williams football game. And what was Doug Williams' number in that football game? It was 17. Doug Williams, Washington Redskins. There he is, number 17. That's why they're sitting there showing him in slow motion, playing in a football game that wasn't even in that time frame. That game was played a year later because that football game's date is 348 code, which is the full reduction fusion of Murder Donald Trump. That game was played on 11/20/1989. Donnie Darko was all about the fall or October of 1988. We might as well run October 2nd. 1313. It's 13,103 or 1313. 187 in the weeks. Golly, there it is. Look at the minutes. 188.6 or 886. So 88 is getting 86, followed by an 8, which is a reversal of it. On the rising day, 187 in the weeks, 1887 begins the minutes. Ooh, but on the rising day, it's a direct hit. It's 35 years, 10 months, 17 days. 1017 turns into 117. You don't count the zeros. 117, Revelation 11:7, rising to the rising day. Direct smash hit. 11322 begins the seconds. 11:3, rising, fused with 322, which was coded in The Dark Knight Rises 322. That's in the seconds of Donnie Darko's October 2nd date to this rising day. See, Donnie Rosen lived on October 2nd also. The right eye wound to Frank the Rabbit took place on October 30th in the movie. If we run that to the 86ing day of 817, you get 138 in the hours. 138 is Donald Trump in simple gematria. Still have the, and it's also 313 fused with 138 in the hours. And we know from the movie The Hours to always look at the hours. And we got another big one with the hours coming up also. I'm seeing something else in the personal world. If you run it to the rising day and include both dates, 13078, and remember our friend who's got the 138, the 88, the 11.3, all of that in her number. 113,886 is her number. See previous videos. When you divide her by 37, she divides evenly by 37, like I do. And she's 3078. And there's that 3078 right there. When I divide evenly, my 82362, everybody born in 1961 divides evenly, and then 37 years later, everybody born in 1998 divides evenly. You divide me by 37, it's 2226, which is today fused with 4 days from now. 222 and 226 all fused together. All right. We just did Doug Williams. I want to do the Great Conjunction. The Great Conjunction to either day, 86ing or rising, it begins with 13.3. 13.3 5 days or 13.3 7 days. 13.3, Revelation 13.3 is the first time deadly wound. excuse me, is mentioned, and it says deadly wound, but did live. Revelation 13:3. Do you remember the total solar eclipse on 12/14/2020? That gave us the exact midpoint in between the two total solar eclipses that make the X across America. Was also marked with a total solar eclipse at the midpoint day, which was the day the Pokey Poke came out. And Biden had received all of his electorals and declared. If you run it to that total solar eclipse in 2020 on 12/14 to the 86ing day, it's literally 3 years, 8 months, 3 days. 383 code. That's murder 38, murder 83, all fused together. 322 begins the hours, 32208 in the hours. Absolute perfection. Absolute perfection. All right. This past, the final total lunar eclipse before the event was on 11/8/2022. There was no total lunars last year or this year. I can verify that. Yeah, last year was penumbral and partial. And this year we have partial and penumbral or something. So the last time we had a total lunar eclipse, it was on 11/8, which is 88. 11 times 8 is 88. To the rising day. 1 year, 9 months, 11 days, 9/11. Heavily coded. Heavily coded. 9 months, 11 days. I mean, that's the Lord's coding right there. The total solar eclipse that gave us the first X across America, 8/21/2017 to 8/17's 86ing day. It's 83 in the months, which is murder. So it's 83 months, which is murder. And it's 69 progressions of 37. It's a direct hit. It's 2,553 days. So it's actually a direct hit. 69 progressions of 37. Exactly. That's a big deal. So one of the songs came on called Save a Prayer for the Morning After by Duran Duran. It says, save a prayer for me now, save it till the morning after. Well, the song Save a Prayer to the day before, because it's telling you to save the prayer for the morning after. So if you run it to the day before, yeah, it's 15,348 days. 348 again is murder Donald Trump. Direct smash hit. It's fused with 153, the fish in the Bible verse. My Pet Goat first posted to Heliofont's YouTube site on the Back to the Future date of 7/3/2012, which we might as well run that too. To the rising day, it's a perfect fusion of 121 and the backwards upside down 9/11 of 116. That Back to the Future also gave us 12 years, 1 month, 16 days. 121 fused with 116. The backwards upside down 9/11. Now Back to the Future came out in 1985 on 7/3. Oh boy. Look at that, To the Rising Day. 3, 9/11 fused with 116. It's 39 years, 1 month, 16 days. So you have 3, 9, 1, 1, 6. Anytime you have 9, 1, 1, 6, it's 9/11 upside down backwards palindrome. And that's when Back to the Future came out, to the day the book of Revelation is going to be opened. So they made sure that that booger was perfect. They made sure it was perfect. The Heidi game, the Heidi Bowl on 11/17/1968 to Groundhog Day. Release date. Well, the premiere date, which in the movie Groundhog Day, it said in the movie marquee, Heidi 2. So I ran the Heidi event to the Groundhog Day movie premiere. 88, 45 days. 88 is Trump. 45 is Trump's numerical rep, as y'all know. What in the world, right? That is just nuts. Absolute nuts. Heidi on 11/17/1968, the Heidi game, the Raiders versus the Jets. Right eye patch Raiders hit by the Jett Jets in a football game preempted by the movie Heidi. And Heidi 2 is on the movie marquee of Groundhog Day. When you run the Heidi Bowl to 8/17, remember, 11/17 is the Zechariah Bible verse, and 11/17 is when this game was played. 11 times 17 is 187, which is why music uses 187, because it's the product of 11/17. When you run 11/16/1968's football Heidi Bowl staged event to the 86ing day on 8/17, look at the hours: 4:88, 86th, 68ed, 88 again. It's 4:8868:8. So it's 88:6:88. So it's the 88 being 86th, along with the rising 688. 4:88:6:88 is the hours. You are told to always pay attention to the hours by that big, gigantic Academy Award-winning movie called The Hours, with all those actors and actresses. Big, big Oscar movie. Film, The Hours. It's all of them. Meryl Streep, Julianne Moore, Nicole Kidman. Unbelievable. You look at the hours of the Heidi game to the event. It's all about 88, 86ing the 88, and then 68ing the 88, the death and rising, all put together. A tragic death in our family. The event occurred 8/29. The death was established on 8/31/2022. When you run that to Trump's death, 11/17 is heavily coded. It's 1 year, 11 months, 17 days. 1/11/17. Death to death. always use personal ciphers. There's The Big Short, released on 12/11/2015. 2, The Monday, which is his rising day, but it's the day the stock market would open. The Big Short's all about collapse of money. Look at the hour, 76/176. What are you looking at? Well, 761 and then a 76. Well, 761, not only is that Adam 76, but 761 is the amount of verses when you combine 404 Revelation with 357 Daniel. It's also a fusion of my birthday, 7/6/1961. And that's all I do is do Daniel Revelation Bible studies, along with New Testament studies. The Big Short, to the rising day, 8 years, 8 months, 8 days. 8, 8, 8. On the rising day, where in the hours, 8 years, 8 months, 8 days in the hours comes to 7/6/176. 7/6/1, End Times Bible. Followed by another 76. We'll call that 76 Adam in Strong's Concordance New Testament. Fascinating. All right. What is this here? 6/15/2015. Never mind, I keyed in the wrong date. So let's go to the next one. I had a very close friend, born, a good friend, that died of cancer very young. He was born on 11/17, our birth year, 1961. And at his funeral, sitting next to me, was another guy born on 11/17 who also died just a few years later. And on the other side of me was a guy born on 9/11, a few years before us. So this 11/17 friend that died very young, and we're at his funeral, 9/11 and another 11/17 sitting on each side of me. When you run 11/17/1961 to the rising, so it's the death and rising. It's 11/17 to the rising. When you include both dates, he has the palindrome that I have on the X Across America Day. He would have been 22/9/22 if you include both dates. I just thought that was fascinating. 7/53 in the months also. My friend Earl, who was shot and killed by his mother, murder codes all over that. 79s, 38s, 83s, 88s, all over it. The address was 3803. The zip is 33881. When you multiply the day it took place, 5 times 8 times 1978, the day number, the product of that is 7912. 79 is murder in simple gematria. The mom was not charged, but yet murder, the Lord said he was murdered. The Lord says guilty. Murder. There's murder codes all over it. When you run Earl's birthday, who was murdered by his mother, when you run his birthday of 7/27, which was the length of I Pet Goat, and he was murdered on May 8th, 5/8. There's 58 rooms at Mar-a-Lago, 58 stories of Trump Tower. I've told everybody all along, 2 years ago on, 3 years ago, whenever I was started all this, that's what those 58s are for. Because they all knew we'd be doing what we're doing, and we're the only ones doing what we do. The way we do it. You run Earl's birthday to the opening of the book of Revelation, It's 23399 days. And 399 is murder in Jewish gematria, the biblical gematria. That's just mind-boggling to me. Ronnie, he was born sitting next to me at my 11/17 late friend's funeral. He's born 9/11/1963, and he also died very early. So both guys next to me ended up dying within a few years. That friend, born 9/11/1963, to the 86ing day, his birth to the 86ing day, it's 60 years, 11 months, 6 days. It's backwards, upside down, 9/11. Also 222 and 56 days. 22,256. Jeff Wright. We all know about Jeffrey Wright all over the movies now and in all of the Dark Knights. I'm sorry, in all of the James Bonds. He's born 11/17 also. Don't forget, he is a perfect 777 months. Seven's the number for cleansing. He is 777. Don't forget, Trump took office 7 years, 7 months, 7 days after his birth, if you include both dates, because the Antichrist is all about cleansing. Cleanses the church. And because of his actions, then the earth has to be cleansed. But there's my 11/17/1959 friend and also Earl's cousin. A perfect 777 months to 8/17. 777 months and 2 days on the rising day. Personal ciphers, bigger, in my opinion, than what the AI gives us with movie dates and so forth. Sun, moon, stars, or personal events, those are all controlled by the Lord. So I want you to look at, when I was a head football coach, my first victory, which always has signified victory, on September 19th, 2003. Look at that, to the 86ing day, 7638, 76, not only my birthday, so maybe I get murdered on the same day Trump does. What do you think about that? That'd be too perfect, since he and I are on opposite ends of the spectrum. 7, both our mom's middle name is Anne with an E, A-N-N-E. And my birthday is 76, Adam in Strong's Concordance, and he's the Black Adam. My first victory as a head football coach, 2/8/17, 7638 days. Adam murder. 38 murder code. So that's the end of this gigantic prep. This all began today. I did 4 videos. I did a playlist of how we came to it. It says August 17th, how we discovered it. And it's 3 videos deep. I won't add any more to it, but no, I'm sorry, it's 4 videos. It just said in the description of it 3 videos. It's got all 4 videos there. And I would watch that playlist if I was you. I'm not going to add any more to that. It's way better than this video. But this video was chocked full of, as we now start going through and start proofing what we discovered. So the first one has 19 views. part 2, where it really started to come together, has 5 views. Part 3 has 5 views. Part 4 has 5 views. 19,555. I am like absolutely positively convinced that we've got our date, which sort of puts my head in a noose, which might be, don't forget, take flight 2226. Well, it says 226. When you divide my number, it divides evenly by 37, 2226. And on that cell phone where it said 226 flight, it said 1955, 1955. And look at these views, 1955 and another 5. So that's scary, huh? Hey, man, I'm telling you right now, we're all going to die between now and the end of that abomination of desolation. It's all going down in 2024, I would imagine. Now, if the book is open on 8/19, which I'm convinced it is, if it's not, if the abomination is not the Ring of Fire, don't forget, you have an eclipse in October. I'm sorry, you have a full moon in October. That moon goes full at 7/26, which is Antichrist in English gematria. 2 months later, on December 1st, which is 12/1 or 121, which is Antichrist in simple gematria, the new moon on 12/1 on 121. Yeah, it's at 1:21 a.m. The new moon is 121. So you have Antichrist 7/26 October on a full moon, and you have Antichrist 121 December 1st on a new moon. Between that time frame, this will be the last part of the video, and we'll call it a night because I am worn out, and y'all have got to be too. If you run it to October 17th, Antichrist to Antichrist, it's 45 days. His number. Look at the seconds. 3, 8, 8, 8, 8. Excuse me, 3, 8, 8, 8. 3 followed by 3 8s. That's pretty mind-blowing. Antichrist, Antichrist, there's your 45. He's got the red caps with the 45, doesn't he? Trump's red 45 caps. There they are. $45. $45. Trump 45. Or Antichrist 45. So somewhere in that time frame, or on one of those new moons, full moons, could also be the abomination of desolation. But I think this is our last year. Don't forget that street I lived on. It ended with 7/24. You don't think I've been trolled my whole life? OJ's Brentwood home. I used to live on Brentwood Drive. All of these houses are years. 2015 was where I lived. There was a hump and it started going downhill at the very end of 2019, but at the main part of right there, 2020. See that 2020 right there? Let's get back to the Brentwood. It ends at 2024. That's it right there. There is no 2025 Brentwood Drive. 2024 was the last. There was also no 2023. 2022, then 2024. There was no 2023. On the left, it ended at 2021. All I can think is 2023 and 2024, basically the same year. The year of the rabbit did not materialize like iPetGoat said it would. And it really has become 2024. After that, it takes a left and turns into Kinsman Drive. Jesus has been called our kinsman redeemer. Brentwood to Kinsman, as you can see right there. Last address, 2024. When you get over to Kinsman, it begins with 1192. Yep. Hey, it's 8/21, y'all. The date of the first eclipse. Well, it's a great time to sign off then, huh? I'm exhausted, but we got our date. Love you.